guys doing? How you doing?
Everybody knows who you are already, right?
Guys, if I could get you take off your hat.
It looks great. Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Welcome back to a couple of you. Just a few reminders before we get going. As a courtesy to your fellow media members, coaches, and student athletes, please silence all of your cell phones, and recording press conference video on cell phones is prohibited. We have 2 mic runners. Please wait for the microphone to reach you before asking your question. When you do receive the microphone, please state your name and media affiliation and who you are directing your question towards. We do have a Zoom room. If you are in the Zoom room, please use the raise hand function for questions. We'll address questions in the room first and then take questions from Zoom. So welcome now to the Louisville Cardinals, head coach Dan McDonnell, and student athletes Eddie King Jr. and Patrick Forbes. Gentlemen, congrats on a fantastic season and making it to Omaha. And Coach, if you want to start with a brief opening statement.
Amen. Well, thank you. This is awesome to be here, awesome to be back. And because of these guys to my left who stuck with it and fought through some hard times, I'm super proud of these 5 or 6 juniors and seniors that really steered the ship in the right direction. And no matter what, it was a fun year, and because getting to coach these guys every day. So for them to enjoy the success of a postseason run, it's awesome because it puts them in the history books, and it puts them on the CWS wall in left center. It puts them on the brick building when you come in and out of practice. And so it's something that they've had to look at every day for years. And to be a part of that history is awesome, but they want to add more. So that's why we're here, to play good baseball.
Okay, we're going to start with questions for the student athletes.
Mark Garland, College Baseball Central. Patrick and Eddie, can you guys speak a little bit about overcoming adversity this year? I know you guys had a lot of injuries. You guys seem to have come together as a big team here down the stretch. Everybody seems to be healthy, going the right direction. Just speak a little bit about overcoming all that adversity, a bunch of time missed from key guys.
Patrick, if you want to start. Then
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely overcame some adversity for sure, but I think, in this game it's hard not to have some adversity at some point. But as Coach McDonnell likes to say, we're battle tested, and some teams don't have to go through adversity, so then when they get to the postseason, then they don't know how to handle it. So I'm glad we could handle it at the beginning of the year, so then now it seems like it's easy.
Like Pat said, it's hard to not have adversity going into or playing a baseball season. So, we had guys stepping up all the time. I like for an outfielder, Michael Lippy, he stepped up big time when we needed him. So just having guys that can just back people up, step up when we need them. That's just really huge for us.
Jake McKeever, College Baseball Central. Patrick and Eddie, you were both on the team last year, and it was a pretty rough season. Was there a point where it clicked for both of y'all that you thought this could be a special team?
Yeah. I think all of us knew in the fall that we were a special team. It's just we had to put everything together at the right time. And then, the season started. We had a really good first weekend, and then, injuries started to happen. I got injured too, but we lost Klein, so it's just we knew we had a special team no matter who was in the lineup, but we just had to put it all together at the same time, and we ended up doing it even though we got knocked down, but we fought right back.
Yeah, kind of like he said, in the fall we could really tell this was kind of just a different group. I don't really know what specifically it was, but there's kind of just a different feel. And then once the season rolled around, you kind of saw us, had a few walk-off wins. The group never really gave up at all. So I think that just kind of shows what kind of group we are and how competitive we are.
Bieniek of 11.7. You guys have already touched on it in the first 2 questions about the injuries, but specifically, Patrick, and I know, Eddie, you mentioned his injury as well. Matt Klein comes back, and all of a sudden, the pitching staff has really found its groove right now. 1, you're healthy, but 2, what kind of impact does he have on the pitching staff?
No, he's had a huge impact. It's definitely great to get him back. Even just his bat in the lineup is huge, not just what he does behind the dish. But, everyone feels comfortable throwing to Matt. He's going to give it 100% every time he's back there. So that's really all you can ask for. So it's great to have him back. And I think it's a big reason why the pitching staff has had a lot of success in the postseason.
On the offensive side, it's great having him in the lineup. You got a very strong bat in Matt Klein. So it just makes us as hitters feel a lot better about ourselves. I feel like it takes a lot of pressure off of a lot of batters. So just having him back is really key. And he is like one of the biggest parts of the lineup. So I'm glad he's back.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Okay, Patrick, Eddie, thank you for joining us, and good luck this week.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are good. Yep.
I like it. They want to stay. Hang out.
Okay, now we will open it up to questions from Coach.
Coach, Mark Garland, College Baseball Central. A lot of injuries this year. We talked about it. Can you speak a little bit about Matt Klein and what he's meant for this pitching staff? I mean, we know we can do offensively, but defensively, it feels like you guys have just reached a new gear.
Yeah, we had such high hopes for Matt going into the year. Had a strong summer in the Cape Cod League and clearly looked like our best all-around hitter, team captain, a catcher back there with the reputation we have for success with our catchers, and we got off to a really good start. I think we were ranked in the top 25, and then that HBP second weekend of the year. But like Eddie and Patrick said, we met in the outfield. We were on the road. I had 3 young catchers there, and I just looked them in the eye and said, man, we're not taking a step back. It's time you step up. That's why you're here. And Matt did a great job. Probably in the long run is probably going to be a better baseball player for it because he had to lean over the railing. He really got to kind of see it more as a coach probably, and he coached up. He helped Coach Snyder with those 3 young catchers, and he got to see all the things that we preach in coaching offensively and defensively, and so the goal was to just, hopefully right this ship, play good enough and put ourselves in a position. And fortunately getting in the postseason, he was back just in time. The Monday, after the injury, I met with he and the captains, and we talked about Eddie and other guys having to step up. But when they left, I called Matt back into my office, and I pulled up on my phone the story, with Warren Morris and what he went through and having to come back and he helped his team win a national championship. And I said, Matt, and this is, if it looks like the timeline is you're going to play in the postseason, then you have to see it, you have to believe it, you have to do it every day, and so, I always share also a little message when guys get hurt. My wife's a huge music fan, and so, in the movie Queen, he says good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And so anytime one of our guys gets hurt, I always send that little clip because the power of the mind can go a long way. And so feeling sorry for yourself is not going to get you back. And I give Matt a lot of credit because he was a great leader. I think he was better prepared when he came back, and how well he jumped in and just helped us on both sides of the ball.
Coach Will Dawson with the Christian Broadcasting Network. Obviously, it's a special season. For you personally, it seems like there's more going on. Could you talk a little bit about your faith and even the culture of faith that seems to be kind of permeating your program?
Yeah, I think it starts with our FCA program. Chris Morgan, he's been there as long as I've been there, 19 years. So we have a strong faith component. You don't have to be a Christian in our program. If anything, our whole motto is to love and to serve. So you can be any religious faith, you can be any nationality, and it doesn't matter. We're just we're gonna love on you. We're gonna serve you. That's what we're called to do. So, but I'm sure we attract a lot of spiritual kids from spiritual families. But like I said, you don't have to. And so that presence, maybe even in the transfer portal, bringing some older kids, 22, 23-year-olds that not only have a strong faith, but you're just much mature than you were probably at 18 and 19, and so it's just who we are, and it's impressive. I always think back when I was that age. I wish I had more wisdom, and I wish I had a stronger faith, and I wish I had made better decisions. So it's really neat, and they know from me at least. When we talk about being a Christian, man, they know I'm not perfect. They see my best and they see my worst. And when they see my worst, I usually have to address it as to like, hey, man, that's who I am, right? I'm a sinner, and at least I'm aware of it. As many times I make God do one of these or shake his head like, oh, man, he didn't just say that, did he? Or he didn't just do that, did he? I do believe we have an obligation to make him smile. So there are times where I try to make him smile, or at least our program is able to make him smile.
Hey, Dan. Eric Olson, Associated Press. Big picture question for you. Last year, 4 teams from the ACC, 4 teams from the SEC. All the talk was that it was going to be just the high-spending power schools that are at the College World Series forevermore. Kind of what's your take on that? Did you buy into that last year? And kind of when you look at the diversity of this year's field, how do you think that's played out?
Yeah, it's as we've seen in college athletics, right? It's just changing every year. So, I wasn't in a good spot last summer because I just, felt like, this looks like it's getting harder and harder. And I don't know, someone had made the reference about a tough season last year, and I we were the 6th seed in the ACC, and 4 teams ahead of us went to Omaha, and the 5th team was a national seed that lost in a super regional. So I was also looking at it as like, man, we're so close, but, we still have many challenges and many obstacles. And I just think they're great, valuable lessons in life, right? Like, I always say it, if the stars have to line up for you to have success, you're probably not going to be a really successful person. Now, I do believe some people start on first base, second base, and third base. I try to be real about that. Like, I understand some people are, man, they're starting in the dugout, and it might be tougher on others. But the lessons I'm trying to teach our kids is we have an opportunity to win every day, right? So let's just, tonight when you go to bed, and we like to say sleep in on the front end, all right? So get to bed early and get a good night's sleep. And so when you wake up tomorrow morning, man, just be ready to win the day. And so we obviously did that as a program, but man, I'm super happy. As much as I wanted more ACC schools here, and I thought we were going to have more ACC schools here, it's hard to not be happy, for the 6 conferences and, a school like Murray State, where I played at the Citadel, and to dogpile to go to Omaha, man, the greatest baseball experience of my playing career, and it's going to go down as one of the greatest experiences of my baseball experience. But I just remember that taught me, if at a military school you can go to Omaha, you can do anything. And so I took that work ethic from my dad and my experience at the Citadel, and going into coaching, it was like, and I was blessed because I got to coach 8 years at the Citadel. So, sell kids to come to a military school, and you can sell, all right? And so I learned how to recruit and connect, and what I learned as a player, I've taken into my coaching experience. So A year from now, who knows? It could look a lot different than this year. Just do the best you got with the resources you got, and try to win as many days as you can. And so, like I said, man, it's pretty neat to see these schools. And I shook a coach's hand because I don't want to say the coach and I don't want to say the school, but I shook a coach's hand. We looked each other in the eye last night, and it was man, I don't know if we were going to get back here kind of look. Like two coaches in schools that have been here a lot just kind of had a look of like, whew. It's been interesting the past few years. So I'm obviously happy right now for college baseball, and hopefully we're moving in the right direction.
Jake McKeever, College Baseball Central coach. You kind of touched on it with the transfer portal, but this team's built with a lot of homegrown guys. What does that say about your coaching staff and your program that Forbes and Eddie King and Zion don't enter the portal, that they stay and build something?
Yeah, I'm not sitting up here tonight or this afternoon. You know, we had 3 guys on Team USA. And it's not Team USA's fault because I love Team USA. I mean, and when your kids get a chance to be a part of it, it's awesome. But it's sad, too, when the best players in the country get put in front of the schools with the most money. And maybe not for that kid individually. I don't know. I'm not here to judge every kid. But, you know, just not fun. And so, yeah, there was a realization this time last summer, like our program could have just, crashed. We were low. As I said, we were in the valley, but that's why I have so much appreciation for those kids who they could have taken more money. They could have taken schools that were selling, I guess you say more than us. You could only sell more money than us. I'm sorry. I'll go toe-to-toe with any coach or school in the country. So if you're chasing more money, good luck. But you want to list the other 25 qualities, let's go toe-to-toe, and let's see whose resume stacks up. So fortunately, we were able to keep those older players. We recruit at a high level. We coach and develop at a high level. As I like to say, since 2014, somebody might have passed us in the last year, so 307 schools. But going into spring training, or when opening day started in 2024, we had the most big leaguers, in the last decade, and we had the most big leaguers on opening day roster. So, at the end of the day, you're asking kids, like, what is it you want? What is it you're chasing? And so we just had to be who we are, but we had to dig in. Transformation was a word in our program, but thankfully those kids stayed. We hit right. What's cool about those transfer portal kids was they were walking into a tough situation, and that was made very clear. Like, hey, you see where this program's been at. You see some of our challenges. You got a chance to be a part of something special. Like, you got a chance to revive us and help us restore the tradition and what this program's been for a couple decades. And I just thought it was fitting. I wanted Justin West to get the last out because he was one of those older guys that went through injuries, and he stuck with us. But we flipped the ball to Brennan Cutts. And Brennan Cutts was in the transfer portal because his head coach left. So that's why I'm never like anti-transfer portal, because I think there's a lot of good reasons for a lot of players. But there's obviously some reasons that just are shady. And you've heard coaches talk about them, and it's just amazing that we've allowed that to happen. And so we'll continue recruiting at a high level. We'll coach our tails off, and we'll develop. And when I say develop, we're trying to help these kids in a lot of areas, on and off the field. And we've got a track record that's proven that we're pretty good at it.
Dan, Scott Rabelais with the Baton Rouge Advocate. Another big picture question for you. Seems like there's been a proliferation of guys who can really, real power pitchers in the last couple of years, 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. Do you have anyone on your staff who regularly hits the 100 miles an hour? And what are your thoughts on how that's being countered by all the data that you have now on pitchers that you can give to your hitters, and to see what the guys' tendencies are before they even ever play them?
Yeah, technology has taken over, and I'm sure I hear him say it on the broadcast, right? 25 years ago, you could count on your hand how many guys, hit 100. Now there's, you could name, how many guys are throwing that hard. I think these pitchers are throwing harder. It's a lot of young kids are chasing velo. We have several guys that throw really hard. Patrick Forbes will start game one and he throws hard. But we have an obligation, right, to teach these kids how to pitch. I think the data can be very useful. You're talking to somebody with a degree in mathematics, and I like numbers. I like crunching numbers. But you can't lose the ability to help kids compete and pitch. And so a lot of data and a lot of metrics and that stuff's really good, but there's something about standing on the mound and having to make a pitch when it's second and third and there's 2 outs. You got runners in scoring position, and it's the same for a hitter. So I think we're all challenged with that balance of technology and information. A lot of information out there, but this is about roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and compete. And so we preach. Last year our book was Toughness by Jay Billis. This year's Chasing Excellence by a CrossFit trainer. So I like to teach the principles that I think are going to help you win now, but they're going to stick with you for the rest of your life. And I give those hitters a lot of credit because, man, there's a lot of pitchers throwing really hard, and it's impressive how good hitters are being able to compete.
Noah Bieniek of 11.7, Coach, you mentioned Brennan Cutts, adding him in the transfer portal. He's one of the few guys that do have postseason experience, but this year coming in, this was a group that had just been on the outside of the NCAA tournament the last couple of years, but it seems like such a loose group. You run through the Nashville regional, then you host a regional with a huge fan base that was very rowdy, great atmosphere, and this team looks like, all the different hairstyles, they just have a very loose feeling to them. Can you describe just the way that the team's been playing the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I appreciate you noticing it. It's especially the hair. Like I said, my wife's into that too. So I just think it shows a lot of unity when you do things like that. Hey, if you do it, I'll do it. And you do it, and hey, we'll do this together. Whether you think it looks great or you might think it looks ridiculous. I just think stuff like that is really cool, that this group has been very close. And like I said, either way, no matter what happened in the postseason, this group got us back on track, and it's just been a lot of fun. I like where we're at. I've talked about schools that have won a national championship that really don't have much experience being out here. Experience is a coin flip. I think there's good and bad with it. My job is to feed off of these kids and what makes them go and where they're at, and just support them in that. And so even though we use that phrase, man, we're enjoying the journey. Like, we are enjoying the journey. How much fun was that practice today? And how much fun is it going to be tomorrow to run out there and compete against a storied program? So we won't talk a lot about that phrase, and I won't use the W word a whole lot. Man, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna play fast. We're gonna throw the ball, catch the ball, and hit the ball. And and let the scoreboard kind of take care of itself.
Hey, Dan. Eric with the Associated Press again. Just a follow-up to what I was asking you earlier. You know, with the House settlement and the scholarships, you know, now potentially maybe 34th, that's what the number's going to be. Whether teams maximize that or not, there'll probably be more at some of the bigger budget programs. What do you think that means then as we move forward? Because you mentioned, you know, you were happy for college baseball to see some of these teams get here. I mean, as we take the next step with the money, is that going to block out some people from chasing championships?
Yeah, unfortunately, right, we'll always have this gap. You know, it just the rich get richer, you know, and I think I'm not negative as to what's going on right now with the settlement and all the things. I have my own opinion that I wish, as an Olympic sport, I wish the first 2.5 of the 20.5 had to go to scholarships and more scholarships, but it doesn't. So I have no idea what the future holds. I have no idea the mid-major baseball program to the Power Four. I really don't. I don't know what's going to happen to all these other Olympic sports. And I hope we don't look up 3 to 5 years from now and we just killed 8 to 10 sports. I mean, we know who makes the money. Like I've always said, like, you cannot be a college coach in any sport and not understand where the money comes from. But if don't act like you're supporting the other sports if you're really not. And the way I read the legislation, the way I'm trying to understand this, is there's no guarantee for all the other sports. None. And I'm preparing myself, and I think we're going to look up, and they're not getting more scholarships. Just blows my mind. $20.5 million, and we couldn't take the first $2.5 million and put it, like you had to put it towards more scholarships. So an equivalency sport of 11.7, which I'm assuming that's why it's on your shirt, but I mean, when I played, that's what it was. There's a lot of gray going on here, okay? And to see baseball families over the years and borrowing money and the loans and fighting to make this work, yeah, it's awesome to think we got 34 kids that could be on a full ride, but I'm not going to have 34 kids on a full ride. And 307 Division I schools, I see my friends from the ABCA here. I'm sure Craig will share with us how many of those schools are at 34, and then how many are over 25, and then how many are under 20. And I hate to say it, but I think there's a lot of schools that are still going to be, whether that's 11.7 or close to that. And that saddens me, because as much as we act like we're doing these great things for athletes, it's a small percentage is what we're doing great things for. And that small percentage, hey, good for you. It's a crooked number, and it's another zero. And it's another zero. But, man, I just hope we didn't kill off a bunch of sports, especially with what we've done in Title IX, right, the last 20-plus years. Like, what's going to happen to those sports? It's because I know what athletics does. I know what being a part of a team does. How you help young men and young women, how you prepare them for life, and the lessons and the things we talk about, and how they could go on to be a great husband or a great wife and a great mom and a great dad. And if we robbed a bunch of these boys and girls an opportunity to be a part of a team, part of something special, I don't know who's going to feel good about this 3 to 5 years from now. And that's, as people who know me, I'm just going to speak my piece and what I believe.
Got time for one more question?
Mike Patterson, Omaha World Herald. Coach, just more immediately, what are your thoughts on Oregon State?
I made a little comment about them, but such a winning program, great tradition. And even though they've been through something really bizarre with, their league breaking up and not having a home, you knew they had a lot of talented kids and a lot of and so now you just took a team, really talented, who I think like us, a different path to get here, but a chip on our shoulder. I don't know how you're part of the athletic program and you don't have a chip on your shoulder, right? And so there's a reason they've done what they've done this year. I don't know if it really surprises anybody. I'm impressed by the adversity and what they had to go through, being on the road and traveling and all that, but it doesn't surprise, I don't think, anybody in college baseball as to why they're here and how good and dangerous they are.
That concludes our press conference day. Thank you, Coach, and good luck this week. Thanks for your time.